morning, guys. So I thought I'd take a couple of minutes this morning to just go over my results on my first full month on the keto diet. So I'll lead with some of the numbers. I mentioned in a previous video that after I stopped vlogging my weight loss journey the last time, I gained back all of the weight that I lost with some interest. So I ballooned to a new high weight of 393.8 pounds. Seeing that number on the scale freaked me out. I was just getting readjusted after the holidays. I hadn't checked my weight in a while, and I was just shocked to see the scale so close to 400 pounds when I had been closer to 300 than 400 just a few months earlier. So I tried dieting the conventional way for a couple of weeks, just constricting my calories and things like that. But I started having these panic attacks. My heart rate would race, I would get really sweaty, and I thought I was legitimately having a heart attack. Now, I had had this a couple of times before, and I've gotten it checked out at the doctor, and it's always come back fine. But it had been a couple of years since I last got it done, so I decided to go ahead and make a doctor's appointment. And the initial results came back, and they weren't good. So lo and behold, I wasn't having a cardiac episode, but my blood pressure was sky high. It was like 160 over 100. And my fasting blood glucose levels were at a 132, and the high end of the normal range would be 100. In addition to that, my doctor informed me that my liver enzyme was a little bit elevated, which led him to believe that I might have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It was the first time that I ever heard those words, but it really freaked me out. I mean, just the idea that I could do so much damage to my liver, not by abusing alcohol, but by abusing food, it was just a little much for me. So those results were sobering, to say the least. And they were the beginning of me researching alternate diets and ways of eating that might be able to combat some of those biomarkers that I had gotten. But it wasn't until I watched that documentary on Netflix called The Magic Pill that I really began to understand that the ketogenic diet could potentially help me across all of these factors. So I started the ketogenic diet a little over a month ago, and here are the results so far. Before I started the diet, I was at a high weight of 393.8 pounds. As of the last time I checked in, I was 375.8 pounds. That's a total of 18 pounds lost in a month. My blood pressure was 160 over 100. I recently went to the doctor and got it checked. Nowadays, it's around 130 over 90. Still not quite at the normal range of 120 over 80, but much, much closer. My fasting blood glucose, you'll recall I was pre-diabetic at 132, and the normal threshold is 100. I've been checking my blood glucose every week since about 2 weeks into the diet, and I'm consistently around the 80 threshold. That just floored me. Going from having a fasting blood glucose of the pre-diabetic range to being solidly within the normal range is just ridiculous. I didn't think that was possible in just a few weeks. In addition, my anxiety attacks started to subside. I used to have a resting heart rate of somewhere in the low 90s. Now it's somewhere in the low 80s. And there were a whole bunch of other things that I didn't expect would be affected that were impacted positively as well. So my whole life I've snored like a gutted boar, and I'm pretty sure I have sleep apnea. But after about 3 weeks on the diet, Monica's told me that she hasn't heard me snore at night anymore. I also had this really bad outbreak of eczema on my legs. It used to be localized to a single patch, but then it spread all the way up my calves on both sides. The doctor prescribed me some steroid cream, and that didn't even touch it. It was just so itchy and irritable, and my skin looked gross. Now, after about a month on the diet, the itchiness has gone down, the eczema has started to subside, and I've seen more progress in healing that eczema than after trying to treat it with about 6 or 7 months of medication. So I'm still new to the keto diet. There's a lot to learn about it. The science behind it is very non-consensus in terms of what most people would consider to be a healthy diet. So there is an aspect of that that scares me a little bit, but I have been pleasantly surprised that the more that I dig into the science and the emerging research, the more I find it satisfying. And so I'll be keeping you guys up to speed as I start to dig into those studies, because I'm a little bit of a nerd and that's kind of what I do. But I do think it's also important for me to tell you guys that it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows along this journey. Week by week, it's been a very different experience for me, and I've had some hurdles along the way already that I'd like to share with you.